Alan McDowell.
If I could have your attention tonight. I come here tonight to talk about trade name TrackPast under memory programs. And the idea is identification, clarification, investigation. And I've been trying to augment files lately, and I'm trying to augment my first file, which the county attorney says that everyone has the right to augment a file. Confirmation of, I believe that when you call a cell phone company, you always get a confirmation number of all paperwork received, or your statement. You always get a confirmation number if you have a complaint or something. And I need a confirmation number at the front desk at the police station. And the first augmentation I'm working on today, I was attempting to augment a file by an individual whom is on or has been on the County Mental Health Advisory Board, whom loudly made death threats on the street and contacted a past landlord with false information that I called him and was harassing him, and he was continually calling over and over, and I was not calling him, and he was making up false reports with the police department. And he pushed a disabled veteran friend who was previously a mutual friend of his and mine, and he took his aggression out on the friend and shoved him into a bus at the plaza. He also continually writes more false information on my file. And I write a report and expect a confirmation number. The front desk is really snubby and mean. It's always been like that. And I feel a lot of this, you know, I read the newspaper the other day, and it hits home, and this hiring that police chief, and I tried to warn you guys. I didn't come down here to talk, but I talked to him in 2012 up there, and I put on Facebook, and you guys didn't know me at the time. You might not have read what I was putting, but I said that he's too aggressive, and he was holding his gun wrong, and I didn't like his responses. And it appears that the police department is playing a duck-duck-goose game on the citizens, only taking the first accusations and refusing all the counterclaims. And I would like, if I want to augment a file, I'd like the front desk to hand over the explanation of how you augment a police report file, because it definitely deals with mental health. People get put out in family issues, political issues, business issues all the time, and it's almost impossible to augment a file. And I don't know if you got the memo, but I do want real-time reporting into the hospital. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell. Bill Ross. Mr. McDowell.
I think, when I think of this, I think I read the newspaper the other day, and it was pretty raunchy. I think the newspaper's going a little too far in trying to sell product. But from what went on in that meeting, I feel that some of the officers should have stepped up and threatened to walk out if the chief wasn't gone right away. And I don't think that Cotton should have been transferred to recreation, or Parks Department.
Mr. Bocook, do you want to? McDowell.
I'd just like to say that I think the office needs a better support staff, and I think that Rebecca did a really good job down there. She described to me exactly all the situations where I stand, what I need to do and such. But today, I don't feel there's a staff that's knowledgeable. And when you bring this next person in, I would like someone similar to Rebecca back in that spot, and even attempting to bring her back in, even if she would be willing. But if she's not willing, find someone that has the knowledge that she had of the department and law enforcement, and how to work with law enforcement and security issues in buildings or anything else. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McDowell. Comments from council? Councilman Allen.
I support this, and I guess the one thing I would ask council going forward in future years is, and as well as the Ombudsman Commission, is to restructure the office or structure the office so there is an assistant ombudsman who may be able to be elevated to that role as opposed to having to negotiate and fight over appointment of an interim.
Absolutely.
It would be better to have the lineage and legacy in place already. That's all.
My comment would be the contract just shouldn't, the ordinance shouldn't be in the contract moving forward.
Agreed.
Councilman Snyder.
So just to respond to your comments, Councilmember Allen, my discussions with the OPO Commission is they're already thinking in that direction, how to create more continuity. The trick might be that having that staff member be termed an interim ombudsman may be difficult. And maybe that person could do a certain amount of the responsibilities, but not all of them. Perhaps not write reports, perhaps not ask questions at IA interviews. There may be a way forward there that's a little bit of a hybrid solution, and I'm happy to report they're already thinking about that and looking for ways that they might be able to bring something like that forward.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think with, a lot of knowledge now in our nation about free speech zones, which I personally feel are really just part of the incremental assault on our liberties. Seeing that even in Eastern, we have friends that have had troubles with that. And then we have the UN, the global governing bodies that are interfering with our nation's sovereignty and their desire. We see this right now, especially with things going on in Europe with the anti-blasphemy laws, where they committed a crime to speak against Islam. It could be anything, but that's the one they picked now. The UN has, a great majority wanted to label pro-life speech to be classified as torture. This was something that came out years ago. So I'm not naive about the threats we have to free speech right now in our nation. So directly to address Ben, as well as any council members that might agree with him with these issues. A handful of weeks ago, I heard that you, Ben, express interest in attempting to restrict public testimony to a confined list of approved topics that you would release. I also heard that you specifically wish to silence any speech regarding abortion or Planned Parenthood and possibly even gun rights, stating that these are not city issues. The ill logic with that line of thinking is that any law, whether it is state or federal, that directly affects the residents of Spokane is a city issue. One of the greatest protections built into our republic is that we can take our concerns about our laws and the actions of our government to our local governing bodies. If our local governing bodies do not agree with us, we have still exercised our freedom in being heard. Allowing residents to exercise their freedom of speech should never be spoken of contemptuously. The highest respect and permission is to be guaranteed for citizens to express grievances to their governing bodies. Grievances are embodied by the people who define and express them as they see fit, not as your opinion would like to dictate. And your attempt to silence and censor the citizens who come here to testify by limiting their content, hoping to slam your gavel against their deeply held concerns and convictions, is a disparaging aberration of your leadership role. The solution for this council is to remember today and in the future that you serve the people you agree and disagree with and must afford them equal dignity, time, and respect. And most honestly, I'm here because I care about you and the people in this community and my children and your children, and I don't want to grow up. I don't want them to grow up. I guess I'm hopefully not going to grow much this way, but I don't want them to grow up and talk about what it used to be like to be free. So please support freedom of speech. Thanks.